And we are back. I wish I could have a book with pictures to read to you, but because of the libraries being closed, didn't happen. But I found one online that I think you will like. So this is Helios and Phaeton, the Sun Chariot, ancient Greek gods for kids. So we will begin. Some people say it was Apollo who brought up the sun each day. Some people insist it was Helios. Still others believe Helios and Apollo were the same god. That's the thing about myths. It all depends on who is telling the story. As one story goes, Phaeton was the son of Helios. Both father and son had curly golden hair and sparkling blue eyes. Both bragged about the other all the time. Helios thought his son was the brightest and bravest kid in the world. He named his son Phaeton because Phaeton meant brilliant in the ancient Greek language. Phaeton was equally proud of his dad. He thought his dad had the most important job in the world. His dad's job was to bring out the sun each day. If the sun did not come up, the crops would die and everyone would starve. Each morning, the Hours, his dad's servants, would harness 4 white horses to the most splendid golden chariot. It was so splendid that it even had a nickname. And splendid is some good show-don't-tell language. Instead of saying it was good or it was great or it was awesome, the author chose to use the word splendid for wonderful, amazing, beautiful. The people called it the Sun Chariot. Each morning, without fail, his dad would leap aboard his golden sun chariot and begin his perilous journey across the sky. It's not easy to haul a burning sun behind a chariot, even a special golden chariot, without getting burnt yourself. All right, so this word perilous, if you don't know the meaning, you can actually figure out the meaning from the context. Right here, this part that's in parentheses, it's not easy to haul a burning sun without getting burnt yourself. So, do you think perilous means difficult or easy or dangerous? I would say it's a little bit of both, dangerous and difficult, because he's hauling the sun. He could get burnt. So it was a perilous journey. No matter how tired he was or how jarred by the jerking of the chariot, his dad always managed to reach every corner of the earth, to bring light and warmth to all the crops and all the people and everything on earth every single day. In the evening, after his dad had tucked the sun out of sight to give the sun time to rekindle, he returned home, weary but content. Here's some nice show-don't-tell language too. Tucked the sun out of sight. Instead of saying putting the sun away, it's like he's tucking the sun into bed. S-U-N, not S-O-N. Each evening he would gather his beloved son and his equally beloved wife and daughters, and together they would watch the moon appear in the sky. The next morning, without fail, his dad would leap again aboard his glowing chariot and fly off to bring out the sun. Phaeton bragged about his father to anyone who would listen, and even sometimes to those who were not listening at all. He bragged about the golden chariot. He bragged about the 4 wild horses. He bragged that one day his father would let him drive the chariot across the sky. Phaeton bragged so much that after a while his friends no longer believed him. They knew his dad brought up the sun, but they did not believe his dad would turn over such an important job to a mere boy. Not even for a day. The job was too important to risk. First, his friends began to tease Phaeton. Then, after a while, his friends began to scatter away as Phaeton approached. They were tired of his incessant bragging. So incessant means all the time. He was bragging all the time, and his friends got sick of hearing it, and so they didn't want to be around him anymore. Phaeton begged his father to let him drive. He knew he was ready. He knew he could handle the horses. He knew he could do the job without getting burnt. But mostly, He wanted to prove to his friends that his father trusted him enough to give him the reins. Finally, one evening, exhausted by his son's perpetual pleading, his father said yes. The next morning, Phaeton eagerly climbed aboard the golden chariot. He took the reins tightly in his hand. The horses knew at once that the driver was not the capable Helios. So the horses could sense that it wasn't the same driver. It didn't feel the same, and they could tell he wasn't going to be as good as Helios. They jerked and reared, but Phaeton held tightly to the reins. Phaeton caught the sun up behind him on his first swing by, and began to drag the sun across the sky. Bursting with pride, he dipped down towards the earth. He wanted his friends to see him, but he flew too close. The hot sun began to dry up oceans and rivers and left deserts in their place. When Phaeton realized his mistake, his eyes widened with panic. He yanked the reins to pull the horses higher in the sky. The horses reared in anger at being jerked so hard. The reins were ripped from Phaeton's hands. The runaway chariot tore across the sky, burning a trail behind it, a trail some call the Milky Way. The horses slowed finally to an amble and turned towards home, eager for oats. High on Mount Olympus, Zeus, the king of all the gods, was sitting outside on his front porch. He had been enjoying his breakfast, but now he was watching the sky. Something was definitely wrong. It looked like Helios's horses were headed for home, but it was too early for them to go home. Could Helios have fallen asleep? Zeus hurled a lightning bolt at the chariot as it flew by to wake Helios up. It hit the side of the chariot with incredible force. The chariot tilted. Something or someone dropped out of the chariot and fell into the Po River. Zeus called for his magical horse, Pegasus. They quickly caught up with the sweating horses, who had slowed nearly to a stop. Pegasus took the lead. Zeus grabbed the reins. Together, Zeus, Pegasus, and the 4 white horses finished dragging the sun around the earth. By the time they had tucked the sun in for the night, Zeus was in a raging temper. Pegasus had been nipped 3 times, which did not help matters any. Zeus roared towards Ethiopia, where Helios kept his palace. Ethiopia is a real place, and it is a country in Africa. Once Zeus understood that the young boy Phaeton had been driving, and had probably been what Zeus had noticed dropping out of the chariot into the Po River, Zeus sent Hermes to organize a search party. It was no use. Phaeton had disappeared. No one knew if he was drowned. Perhaps he had made it to the shore and was hiding, ashamed. No one ever heard from him again. As for Helios and his family, their sadness was great. Some say his daughters cried so much that Zeus, as a punishment for Helios's bad judgment, changed his daughters into the poplar trees that lined the Po River. Some insist it's only the wind, but others say you can still hear them crying even today. Helios continued to bring out the sun, but his heart wasn't in it. He flew too high and let clouds cover the earth. The earth suffered gloomy day after gloomy day. He flew too low and burned rivers down to creeks. Finally, Zeus had to intercede. He made Helios give up his job, the job that had made him so proud, and gave the job of bringing out the sun each day to his own son, Apollo. Some say Zeus gave a golden chariot to Apollo. If he did, it probably was not Helios's chariot. According to one version of this ancient myth, Helios gave his splendid chariot to Hades in exchange for a favor, that Hades, god of the underworld, would keep an eye out for his young son, Phaeton. All right, so this myth is explaining the rising and setting of the sun. And it also is talking about after Phaeton disappeared, how Helios was sad and he didn't do his job so well anymore. So it's talking about cloudy days and possibly even rain, gloomy day after gloomy day, and rivers changing to creeks because the sun flew too low and burned rivers down to creeks. So this myth, you can see, is explaining things that happen in nature, like the reason behind how they happen. And this is what the ancient Greeks used to believe, but now they don't believe these things, but we still have their stories. And they're really interesting stories as well. So if you get a chance to read more Greek myths, I highly recommend it. And I'm going to put this link also in the YouTube description, because if you want to learn more about ancient Greece, if you want to learn more about myths, there is all kinds of things that you can look at on from these links here. And I think you will really enjoy that. Your job, should you choose to accept it, is you're going to do some writing. And I want you to write your own myth. After he fell out of his father's chariot, what happened to Phaeton? Because we don't know what happened to him. Did he drown? Did he survive? Was he embarrassed? What do you think happened to Phaeton? So you're going to write a couple of paragraphs about what you think happened to Phaeton. And you can write that, and then please take a picture of it and send it to me so I can check your work. So thank you for listening, and take care, and I hope to see you at graduation. Thank you.